Honestly, if I gave this to another Singapore bus content creator, they wouldn't be able to explain it properly. Videos like these are actually a good way to drive up engagement, but by doing so, you need to be able to explain things properly. So this is basically, aside from 967, which is technically a feeder but marketed as a trunk, this is why no other trunk bus service runs from the west of Woodlands, which is Marsiling, to the east of Woodlands, which is Admiralty area. The simple answer is you could draw an arbitrary line that cuts through Woodlands. Not the most accurate, but maybe something like this, and maybe something like this. So, before 1996, I'm just gonna put 1995 over here. This part existed. This part, to put it simply, didn't exist yet, under construction. And for you elevator enthusiasts, you could think of it as something like this and this. Because the type of elevators would tell you a place's age, more or less. Not just the current elevator, but the elevators that a building had throughout the course of its history. I mean, to be more precise, right? This cluster over here it has like 1997 Fujitec XL Dynes, A3FGD, and then everything to the right of Woodlands Avenue 4, pretty much, I'm just gonna oversimplify it. They used these or the Mitsubishi GPS slash GPS 3. So you could take it as this area is around 1997, 1998, 1999. And before that, there was nothing. And in addition, it's also important to note whether MRT came before or after the town was like more or less developed. So MRT came before Admiralty. Okay, actually I should put LRT as well. BPLRT came after the town was developed. Sengkang MRT station came after. Sengkang LRT came before Sengkang West was developed. I mean, but for East Loop, it came after. Similar thing with Punggol. West Loop, MRT came before the town was developed, but East Loop, and then for East Loop, it kind of depends on which station, cause you know Oasis and Damai opened later, right? So the bottom half of Punggol LRT East Loop, it was already more or less developed. The top half, not so much. So I'm gonna say it's both. Whereas Tengah, JRL will only come after most of Tengah has been developed. So I'm gonna put this for most areas at least. Then you need to ask yourself which areas, and I'm just coming at this from an objective perspective, you have to ask yourself which areas have more elaborate like bus lines. I mean bus routes. Like not just feeders but trunks as well. Bukit Panjang, Sengkang LRT East Loop, the entire area that's bounded by there. Excluding Sengkang East Drive because technically that road connectivity is piss poor. I mean, partially because Rivervale Drive already exists. There's already 119, there's already 136. And you guys know 119 used to be 865, which later became 85, then later became 119. And then this one as well. I mean, to be fair, right? They wanted to give the residents 171. They decided not to because outside they claimed that, oh, there's already this thing outside. And then they are going to amend this thing inside in the future. And then they have already amended this thing. I'm not counting all the short to medium distance trunks. I mean, technically 181 is a medium distance trunk. Why did I even say that? But okay. You see the trend, right? Yes, Tengah is new, but to be fair, right? It goes without saying. This place technically has better trunk bus connectivity as compared to this place. Just putting it out there. But when this thing called like through running is concerned, it's just a term that's like coined up by I don't know who, but if you are trying to run something from the west of Woodlands to the east of Woodlands, or even beyond, it's not so much about Woodlands as a town, like this gigantic town per se. Like seriously, people often make this mistake. You need to look at what exactly is surrounding Woodlands. Industrial, forest, a restricted area. Industrial, residential, Malaysia, which is a better place to live in than Singapore, minus Johor, but I'm not gonna go into that. So this is the part where you gotta understand. This part ish, Senoko Industrial Estate. This part ish, it's not really developed. The only place that's like developed is to the east of it, Sembawang. Because this MRT line, North-South line, came before the town was being developed, and said MRT line gets you from one end of the town to the other end of the town and beyond. It makes zero sense to run a trunk bus service that cuts straight from Kranji to Sembawang. I brought up this point because there are a lot of extremists that hate feeder services, that just want to convert every single feeder service into a trunk service for the stupidest reasons. But to answer your question as to why there is no bus service like this, it doesn't make sense to run one. And keeping in mind historically, this part was nothing. There was nothing here. So it didn't make much sense to run any bus service through here back then. The bus terminals in the past were concentrated around here. Throughout the course of history, there were only a few bus services that didn't terminate here, as far as I can remember, but I'm bound to forget some things. Modern day bus services, you have this. You have this. Oh wait, no. That's an old service and it doesn't count. Okay, historically... Wait, actually, no. It should be this. You guys know this service, right? In the past, here, here. The looping point was still here. I mean, but the terminal was there, so it had to take this route. MRT shuttle services, as far as I can remember, I don't think there were any over here because it wasn't even developed yet, so it didn't make much sense. And the MRT came before the town was like more or less developed, so there was SS7, but it stopped here. And even from the bus side of things, history would tell you the same thing as well. This thing only started serving Woodlands Avenue 9. I mean, I have done historical bus route recreations before, so you could check that out. But as for this, it only started calling Woodlands Avenue 9 and 8 in this case, ever since 1996. This only became a thing ever since 1996. Which means that before 1996, aside from Trans Island Bus Services 901, the old one, not the current one, there was pretty much no bus service, no trunk bus service along Woodlands Avenue 9. Like essentially, it's a new thing. And if you want to talk about, okay, all the newer bus services at the Admiralty site, you look at this, 2001, 964, 1997, only after the town actually started somewhat developing. And even back then, it was a peak hour service. Only around, I think 6 months. I cannot count. I'm bad at math, so it got converted into a full day service. 965, 2002. Even this one is 2003. Okay, this one is not relevant. 969, 2001. Just for fun, even though this is not related to the video, everything points to the same fact. Honestly, should I even slice it like this? I'm not too sure about this area, but that's cause I'm bad. It's all gold stars. You want to turn back time? Yeah, you could. I mean, in the context of this video, not actually turning back time. It's all consistent with history as well, but in this case, we're only really concerned with like the east loops and not necessarily the west loops. Again, the main point is that it's all consistent with history. They only started existing after 1996. This, and this existed before, and they used to be from the old terminal at near Woodlands train checkpoint. Because it's one thing to claim that, hey, nowadays there might be a need to run a bus service that runs from the west of Woodlands to the east of Woodlands, like just a casual suggestion. That is one thing. But to misunderstand history and to blame the authorities for intentionally making Woodlands a majority hub and spoke place, like where the bus routes are hub and spoke in the sense that nothing crosses Woodlands, then that's stupid. Because even if you have read up about the history of Woodlands before making such statements, it's like you are being clouded by your own hatred of feeder services to the point whereby you start blaming other people You start blaming the town for your bus services turning out the way that you didn't want them to turn out. That kind of thing. Like, I'll just make it simple. You have absolutely nothing here. Why would you send a bus service here if there is absolutely nothing? Like, literally, they added a trunk, which was a fake feeder. They added this then residential bus service that later got extended to Changi Airport. They gave you this, a trunk, and then after year 2000, they gave you this. They gave you this. They gave you this. They gave you trunk, trunk, trunk. Trunk, trunk. A trunk that looks like a feeder, but yeah, you get the point. It's not like they didn't put in effort to give the area bus services. Again, like you know, when Tengah first developed, and I already knew what bus services there were gonna be beforehand. There was this, there was this. So you could think of it as Tengah started off with 870 and 992. Admiralty started off with this. But technically this thing came, yeah, you look at it. The trunk that looks like a feeder actually came after this trunk and this trunk. But you get my point, right? This thing is kind of like the equivalent of this thing. Like when this area first developed, people were coming in from like here, and then they hub spoke to like 964. Kind of like how they hub spoke to 992 at Bukit Batok and 870 at Jurong East. It's the same thing. Like seriously, if anything, you guys should be complaining about the lack of trunk services, like actual medium to long distance trunk services within Tengah, as opposed to diverting and misplacing your hatred just to push your own agenda onto something that's, objectively speaking, like the way it developed. This is already better than how Tengah is. So I don't understand why you guys are like complaining about this. Like seriously, I don't get how Woodlands is even being thrown into the equation when you want west to east travel, just take north-south line. And it's not like there aren't any bus alternatives. There is this for you to get to Sembawang. There is this for you to get to Sembawang. There's this for you to get to Canberra. And then there are these two for you to get to Yishun quick. And this is the exact same point but paraphrased. North-South line, ever since 1996, it already forms the east-west connection. Like the main, in this case, this one is the main, what is that word again? I forgot. The main corridor, the main node. Yes. Yeah, I forget my terms. I'm sorry. And also keep in mind that there was nothing here. And to make the point that there is no bus service that takes you from the west to the east side of Woodlands, it's completely false because this thing is an intra-town, this thing is an intra-town, this thing is an intra-town. Okay, in SBS terminology, it's town link, but intra-town. Like, these literally take you from west to east. And from east to west as well, provided there's no E suffix or T suffix, depending on which era you come from, because there was this stupid kid who tried to say that 911 West Loop is T. I'm like, you dumbass, like E or T, historically, they existed for both East Loop and West Loop, and they just mean terminate at Woodlands Interchange. It's like, if you don't know history, don't try to lecture somebody who is clearly older than you and who has clearly experienced all these things before you were even born in the first place. This is my message out to the stupid kid bus enthusiasts. Because the moment you make any of these feeder services skip the main hub, you are going to lose demand. These people, they hate on HubSpoke to the point that they fail to realize that HubSpoke is just one of the ways that a place generates demand. Why hub and spoke in this context is because this is the main hub. Bus interchange. For bus services that are either short, medium, long distance, there are MRT lines as well. Currently, there are 2. There is a shopping mall, a library, and some more amenities around the area. It is the main hub. Obviously, everybody wants to travel there. If they didn't want to travel there, they would have taken any of these other bus services out of Woodlands. Any of these bus services out of Woodlands. Any of these bus services out of Woodlands. You get it? If you want to turn this historical, any other bus service out of Woodlands. This one as well. Service 700. Okay, I'll put it here so that nobody gets confused. And oh yeah, I forgot this one. And honestly, it's really embarrassing that I have to remind quote unquote Singapore transport enthusiasts that I have to remind them of this. Obviously, the bus routes would be concentrated in the areas where there is actually something. You can ask any transport planner out there. They would tell you that running a bus service from here all the way to here is stupid. Why? Because in this context, you already have this MRT line that already makes up the main corridor. And it's not like there is no bus connectivity. There is bus connectivity. It's just everything cuts off at Woodlands. You have this, and a sorry, I have no space. And a slightly more hub-spoke one that goes into Inner Marsiling. And then from here to here, from Woodlands to Sembawang-ish, I'll just draw like a random arrow. There is this, there is this. And if you want to reach Yishun fast without having to geographically troll through Sembawang and Canberra before you can even reach Yishun, if you want the geographically the fastest route, there is this, and there is this. It's not just one bus service, you have 2 bus services. And you even have bus services serving the top part. You have this, and then you have this as well. So it's not like connectivity doesn't exist. You skip the main hub, you lose connectivity. Not all buses are designed to pass through the main hub in any context, but I'm just saying in the specific context of Woodlands, you don't go to this area, you are going to lose demand. Once again, I repeat, there are bus services doing this. There are bus services doing this. There is one bus service that does, roughly this. There is one bus service that does this. There is another bus service that does this. There are 2 bus services on top. And you have 2 bus services doing this. So it's not like the MRT alternative, like it's good to have both a bus corridor and a railway corridor at the same time that both serve their own unique purposes. Nobody is going to argue against that. And it's not like the bus connectivity, like I've explained, doesn't exist. They exist. And even if you want a true service from west to east, they are in the form of intra-towns. Why don't they exceed the border of Woodlands? Because they are intra-towns. They are meant to be confined with, their routes are meant to be confined within a town. And it makes no sense in this context to extend these bus services beyond Woodlands because there is nothing here. And they already have 925 at Marceling and at Woodlands. It also doesn't make sense to extend them here because you already have these services and you already have these services that take you out of town. The true connectivity exists. It's just limited to intra-town services. Because like I told you, it makes no sense to run a bus service from over here direct to here or here when there is clearly an MRT line. Once again, I repeat, the bus connectivity exists. You just have to not be lazy and transfer here. I'm not asking you to walk from Shin Ochanomizu to Ochanomizu. I'm just asking you to transfer at the very, very same air-conditioned bus interchange. Not under the hot sun or the weather. It is not worth it to make these things do the job of these things because this is meant to be confined within the town and this takes you outside quickly. These serve the smaller roads mostly, and these all serve the bigger roads, Avenue 9, Avenue 5, and Avenue 7. So my main message to all of you is, think of the town, but at the same time, think of what is outside the town. When you want to make through running bus services from over here to over here, or over here, or over here, or over here, or over here, this is not possible, or over here. Think of whether there is demand here that even wants to go here in the first place. And trust me, they will all just take the MRT line in this case. It's not that the bus alternatives do not exist. They exist and they have adequate coverage. You could suggest a few ones for better coverage. That's fine. But I'm just asking you to transfer in this air-conditioned bus interchange. That used to be NAC, by the way. If you are saying that, hey, I would prefer if 965 shifts to the air-conditioned interchange so that I could transfer, so that my transfers are easier. Yes, I can resonate with your sentiments or your difficulties. Sorry, I mean, like, I can empathize with you better. There's nothing wrong with suggesting this. But to suggest that I want trunk bus services that skip Woodlands is stupid. I want to turn the intratowns into trunks, that's stupid. But in case you are stupid, stubborn, or both, just remember this one simple fact. You don't even have to like try. You don't even have to bother to try to understand why. Oh, this one, the MRT came before before the town developed. You don't even have to like listen to whatever I've just explained. Just remember that this main hub, you skip this, you lose demand. Simple. And because you skip this, you lose demand. Unless it's an intra-town service, it makes perfect sense to terminate here. Because not every single bus service can be like 265, okay? If you still want to crayon a trunk service, new service that's not related to any other existing bus service, that obviously doesn't involve the trunks eating the feeders or the feeders eating each other unnecessarily. If you just want to, like for fun, casually crayon a bus service from here to here and you kind of like justify why nowadays this link is needed, yeah, you could. But just remember, you have to pass by the main hub. Otherwise, your bus service, it won't be sustainable. In this case, then yeah, you could do it this style. But you still have to justify that people want to travel from nothing into the residential area or other residential areas. This is the main hub. This is where density is